we got our screws in here. So just take them all down equally. So they just hit the plate. Okay, you start cramming them down. Torque on them. This hole here is kind of bad. See a bit torque on them. Okay, now I'm go up over the other side over here. You see how much damage you got. There's your O-ring. Shoot it right off again. Par for the course. So that's where the goop goes. Where'd my goop go? So usually what I do is I take the goop, I put a layer on top of this, make sure it's over the whole surface, including the bushing in the case, because that can also leak. Do little circles to make sure you get all the air worked out of it. As long as you have any kind of coating over the whole surface, it won't leak. If you got a good connection, good bound to this, good stiction to the case. That's why you want to make sure there's no air in there, no oil on it. So you go like that, and just kind of let it sit. It'll seal, and that's going to flow across and level out. It's going to run off too, because it's the high spot's the shaft sticking up. So if it gets so thin it doesn't seal anymore, you have to come back and put a little layer on it. But we're just going to let it sit here for a little while and let it kind of harden up, and hopefully it'll stay, it'll dry to a nice even black gray color all the way across. It'll be sealed. Now let these things sit until that part is done. Now we can go ahead and turn this and make sure this still works. See, it works great until it goes in gear, see? So that gear works good. See, there's in-play in it. I know it was good before, that's why I didn't spend any time checking it. It still is good, imagine that. Now if you had any of the goop that got into the bearing here, it would be hard to turn. This one's not hard to turn. If you hold the two dogs up at once, you should be able to get neutral. It's hard to get in my finger though. There we go. So we should be in neutral, which means only half the gears will turn if I'm in neutral. There you go. See how the other half's turning?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a physical neutral. When both gears go in at once, it locks it, see? Now that's the time to tighten your nut down here and up and over here. Now I know that nut's pretty tight, because I already did that. So if you like this, it's all going to run away. If you sit flat like that, it'll level out. So we're going to let this sit up and let it just level out. And this stuff is slow drying and it's colder than hell tonight, so it might take an hour or so before that solidifies enough to work on any further. So we're done for that right now. The only thing left to do right now is I'm going to have to do my shift fork alignment, which was off. So I'm going to have to deal with these, so I might have to deal with that tomorrow possibly. Now the kicker cover over here needs to be dealt with a little bit, because somebody yanked that out. So let me clean up a little bit and I'll be right back. So why do we got two nuts here? Oh, this is for the main shaft. Some dumbass didn't put this back in. You only need that though if you have an early throw-out bearing. That resembles that. That's supposed to catch oil and drip onto that. It goes underneath one of those screws I put in on the other side. We'll get to that. Meantime, we got to work on this side. Keep feeling play. What the hell's loose? transferring. This is loose, which is causing me to feel clearance. Alright. So this goes through the top of this. Should have a little lube on it. This would be a good place to put grease in. We're using some red grease right now. That hasn't dried yet either. Looks like you got two little pinhole bubbles there though. Whatever you do, don't touch it right now because it'll get worse if you do. Just let it do its thing. It will level out to the extent it wants to. Okay, this goes in this hole right here. Goes like that. Supposed to have a lever that goes in here. Resembles this. See, I've got some wear marks here, and digging in marks over here where it digs into here. Supposed to go right like that. So you have to have this pretty damn close to work because see, there's very little clearance in here to be for an error. So this has to be lined up pretty close. So you want the lever to be up at this position, not down. Stick it right in there. And your sweet spot goes in. Now sometimes there's like washers that go in here to keep things from moving up and down so much. But being this bike here, it doesn't have that. So we have two of these clips right here. One is for here and one is for the shift shaft, which is this one. I'm going to say the one that looks all screwed up probably goes with this one because he said it fell off. So we're going to try to put this on. See if it goes that way or this way. I'm going to try this way. Hopefully it's got some tension on it. So it might stay put. See that loose? See the wobbles in there? Mm-hmm. That is not tight. So that is not correct. That's probably why it fell off. So, is that because it's the wrong part? Or is that because it's a bad part? Don't know. We have another one to use. Let's try this one. Maybe it gets better. Boom. That one fits a little bit better. Just not wobbling so bad in there. Mm-hmm. You still kind of rotate it. It's not like it's really tight, but it's not real loose like this one was. So that's probably adequate to retain it. Now if you start heaving on these things too hard, it'll just pull the bottom clip right off. That's why you can't be yanking on this stuff. It just breaks things. We have a little bit of free play up and down here, which will allow it to probably find a sweet spot in there, hopefully, and work. The center of this is the center of the man shaft. So if you eyeball it with a straight edge, that should be able to go far enough to center up. Looks like it'll be just past or right on center. If you go by these two holes being in an equal spot, doesn't really have enough room quite to go all the way up, so it's tight. That's probably why it's got that wear mark in it, because it's got a little load on it. It can't sit up high enough. The problem is all of this weight here is pushing down on this bearing all the time, which is putting load on the main shaft gear, because this goes on the kicker gear. This sits on here. See a little ball bearing? That goes in that little groove right there. That way this part here spins with the main shaft, this part here does not. These have a bunch of balls in here. So that's how that, and this is free to float in and out to whatever it needs to be. So if you got a lot of load on this trying to cock it on the shaft here, then that will cause binding and wear over time. So we'll see how this works after we get it assembled tomorrow.